Hi everybody, my name is Steve Gagne. I'm a father, I am an artist, I'm a community member, and I am a recovering addict, and I recover loud.
Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate, speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it up. Never have to plead out to a lesser offense. I'm proud to say that I recover loud. I never thought I could, but I'm so proud that I discovered how to live my life again, controlling my own destiny. I needed recovery, I still need it desperately. Addiction never defined my identity. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Recover Loud. I'm your host, Mike Paddleford, and I recover loud. Tonight's guest is Steve Gagne from Lewiston. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for deciding to share your story with us.
Let's be real here. I've personally had people that I've tried to work with, and I was a little too aggressive in how I pushed the program on them. The program meaning the 12-step programs of AA and NA. And I was, aggressively kind of zealotous about it, and really turned them off, pushed them away from it, and I believe it was part of the reason that led to recurrence of use, for them. And it was a serious one that led them to a lot of complications and trouble. And I feel a little bit of personal, burden in that, and maybe that's me just, being me or whatever. But, again, it's that responsibility that those of us who've been working this program and been trying to apply a program of recovery into our lives on a day-to-day basis, we all have that responsibility to present that program in the best light to people, in a way that is not pushy or, aggressive, but that is attraction, exactly. Not promotion. It says it right in our own,
Well, and a lot of it comes down to personalities.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. It's not.
Yeah, right.
Some people are not built for that kind of group concept and thinking. Yeah. They're not willing to delve down some of those pathways of self-accountability that you have to. Facing trauma is hard, man, and getting honest is real hard. And some people aren't at a point that they can do that safely, without unlocking further light on it, friendships and family connections, all that stuff. And the whole time, for many, many years, I convinced myself that I wasn't an addict, right. that it wasn't a problem. If you had said it to me, I would have laughed at you, because my vision of what that word looked like was not me. Right. My tie was damn expensive. I had a nice belt on. It was, my mortgage payment said otherwise. Right. And I believed that with all my heart, and it took a lot of convincing by the universe, and taking away of things, shaving down who I thought I was, piece by piece. When you stand in your own driveway and have to explain to your kids as they get on the school bus in front of all their friends why that tow truck's taking your van, that's a humbling minute, and I wasn't honest in it, and I'll be honest about it now. I did lie to him about what was going on. Right. Let's go to the shop, kids. Yeah.
And then just never.
And it just never came back. And it's like that's the kind of stuff that we would do, and that's just the surface level of the obfuscation that we'd have to do to keep that.
Those obvious things that you have to answer for.
Yeah. And we'd even try to avoid those if we could. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to look at the treatment of substance use disorder, but there aren't a lot of ways that we can look at it as a society. There's only the truth of what it is, and then all that other bullshit that we try to say it is. But the truth of it is that there is always going to be a need for a substance if a trauma that's sitting isn't being addressed. Yeah. And so I've heard it a few times, but I've heard it clearly and succinctly said that we don't have a drug problem. We don't have a drug epidemic in this country. We have a childhood trauma epidemic in this country. You know, because so many people are walking around with pain that they don't understand, you know, and it's just eating them alive, and they don't know what to do with it, and they don't understand that there are so many different pathways there, and we try so hard to not be a burden on anybody. We want to be an individual, we want to be unique, and we want to do our thing, and, you know, so we self-medicate, and so many people self-medicate without realizing that's exactly what they're doing too. You know?
Yeah, we start out using because it makes us feel better.
Right. You need that chai latte at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's the same mentality.
Exactly, and of course, addiction can be to anything. And you know, that's something that, you know, society's starting to understand, that it's not just these substances.
Right.
It can be, you know, gambling. It can be porn. It can be.
They can be just as damaging. That zealotry in any form, that obsessive compulsive drive for anything is purely damaging. You know, there really isn't an upside to obsessing over something that deeply that you're willing to risk your life to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if it's, you know, drawing or skydiving or anything like that.
Yeah, a lot of people get into their work.
Yeah.
I know in recovery, that's kind of where I turned. And it was safer for me. But I had to recognize that what I was doing was an unhealthy obsession to dive into my work.
Right.
You know,
it's so interesting how there's such a fine line between, like, I don't know how to say it, like self-care versus like almost wallowing in your woes or whatever. You know, there's a period of like, you got to kind of be a little insular sometimes to figure things out mentally and get where you need to be emotionally to kind of rally the troops around you, whatever, circle the wagons if you have to.
Right.
Use a lot of metaphor there, but whatever gets you there, there's a period that you have to process. You know, we all do it.
Yeah.
When you extend it beyond that, that's when it slips into those like depression periods or hyperactivity periods where you're like, oh, I'm throwing myself at my work or throwing myself at my recovery. I'm going to go to 5 meetings a day and I'm going to do it every day for a year. You know, you can go bananas with it, like with anything. We're that way by nature.
Yeah, and then what happens, just like with anything, you know, with substance, once you can't get that anymore,
You seek it out.
yeah, and you know, it's you find out that whatever else you're doing is not enough without that.
Yeah.
So with our personal journeys in
Yes.
recovery, you know, you said you went to a detox, and then what did that period? How long did you stay in detox?
The first time I went, it was just a brief stay. It was a 3-day kind of, you know, get you right, get you out kind of situation.
Yeah.
The next time I went was a little more extended stay. I stayed for about a month.
Okay.
You know, really did embrace the idea of being abstinent from substances of any kind.
Yeah.
I even quit smoking while I was in there, and I maintained that for about 2.5 years afterwards. And I think that, to be completely honest with myself, that was a big reason. It was a big hurt when I did have a relapse or a recurrence of use, because I had been doing such a great job with my recovery at that point. I was, you know, I was going to meetings regularly. I wasn't necessarily taking the extra steps of like working with sponsors or being a sponsor.
Were you doing this under your own will?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
And I was going to meetings weekly at home group, you know, and I would go and I liked the camaraderie of it. I thought it was all right, but I didn't really take it all that serious, to be honest. I thought, well, you know, okay, it's cool to have people I could call here and there if I need to. I never did. I never picked up the phone, you know. I was going to call any of these crazy people, you know.
Exactly.
But you know, it was all about appearances. It looked good. It was working. You know, it was working. But I wasn't addressing any of the root issues that were going on, the stuff that led me down those dark pathways that made me feel like, oh man, I need a drink, or oh man, you know, I'm not feeling too down, I need something else, let's party, whatever.
Yeah.
That trigger mechanism, I never looked at it. I never wanted to look at it. You know, that's some scary shit that sits behind that stuff, and I didn't want to delve down those pathways. So, you know, 2.5 years into it, you know, people, places, and things is what they tell us, right?
Yeah.
You start running into people it's hard not to run into those people when you drive to their neighborhood and go
Right.
slow down their street,
And
But
you're looking for it,
yeah.
you don't want it.
Right, and eventually, I started having doors opened for me and opening some myself that I shouldn't,
Right.
and it was a progressive thing. It was a slow kind of build up to it. I didn't jump from, suddenly being abstinent to doing heroin.
Right.
But what I did do is I started allowing myself indulgences, and that's how I kind of put it. It was like, I worked really hard this week. I made a bonus check. It's okay if we throw a barbecue this weekend and I drink a 12-pack or perhaps a case of beer.
Right.
With the family around,
Right.
and everybody's having a good time. We're on
Find a way to
fire. It's gonna be
justify
good time.
it.
Yeah, and I'll spend some money because we can do it, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, while I'm also running out to get that second case of beer, I'm also stopping at my friend's house to, get a gram of cocaine.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling anybody about that. I'm doing it in the truck on the way home.
Right. And you're heading to get that second 12-pack after you've already finished the first one.
Right. And I'm driving, and
Yeah.
I'm doing all these, and I'm allowing myself
Right.
these things, and I'm justifying them slowly, and I'm letting them sink in, and then maybe I don't do that again for another 3 or 4 weeks,
Right.
or a couple weeks, or whatever. But there's always another excuse to have, have some people over and have a good time,
Yeah.
and that excuse essentially was always, I hate being alone in my head,
Right.
and I can't be alone with me for any amount of time. I have to have something distracting me.
Right.
And that's the root of it always. For me, I'm an all-in kind of addict. I jumped into my addiction with both feet. I was, at times selling. I was at times buying. I was at times moving stuff. I was, I was getting all involved. And I was told when I first came into the halls that if I'm going to succeed, I need to chase my recovery at least as hard as I chased the drug or the substance. It started for me. Sponsorship was how I got kind of involved. I had worked through the 12 steps in both programs, AA and NA at times. And I started working with guys in the program. And through that work, helping other guys work through their steps, I got introduced to people who essentially did that professionally. I started working part-time as an RA, and really enjoyed it. That quickly became full-time. I really enjoyed the work. It was really gratifying. And it was what I was doing already anyway. That kind of outreach, working one-on-one with guys in a mentorship capacity as a sponsor. It wasn't so much that I was sponsoring guys at that residential home, because I was not. But it was that I was able on a day-to-day basis to, again, make a connection with somebody who prior to that felt completely isolated.
Right.
And I could find some kernel of their life that I could identify in mine. Because if there's one thing that as addicts we all share, or as people fighting substance use disorder all share, it's that we all have these kind of congruent shared experiences of negativity that come ultimately from this continued lifestyle. There is literally no greater gift than watching the light come on in somebody else's eyes like that, and you recognize it because it came on in you, and it just reinforces yours, and it's like a hope symbiosis, it just kind of feeds itself, and it's beautiful that way.
You and I just had a conversation like this the other day.
Yes, we did.
Because an experience happened to you,
Yeah.
and you felt like you reverted back to some of your old behavior.
Right.
You
you so aptly reminded me that, it is progress, not perfection. That's not what we're trying to attain here.
Yeah.
We're always going to be human. Regardless of how recovered we may become, we still, at our root, are, some hairless monkeys on a spinning rock, right? We're gonna react. We're going to have things happen, and I didn't in person get to thank you again for being there for me, brother.
Absolutely.
Because it's that fellowship and that community that we can reach out to in those moments. I mean, I can't speak for anybody other than myself in this situation, but it saved my life. It legitimately saved my life. Having someone at my fingertips that was willing just to listen. They didn't want anything from me. They weren't trying to sell me a bill of goods. They weren't doing anything other than just sitting quietly on the other end of a phone and listening to me. And if I asked, they would answer. If I asked a question, they would try their best to answer it. And if they didn't know the answer, they wouldn't blow some smoke up my ass. They would ask somebody else who might, and then they would share it with me from there. You know, they would tell me that, you know what, I don't know, I'm gonna find out. Let's find out together. You know, and they gave me that support that I needed. As we say in the halls, they loved me until I could love myself. You know, and at its root, that's what it is sharing love for one another and being open to being loved by other people. Exactly. You know, and for some of us, as cliche as that may sound, for some of us that was a really, really difficult thing to learn how to do. You know, and God bless every one of us that's in it, because, you know, I find myself at times looking at folks who I clearly see have so much potential, are so smart, so witty, so charming, and they're just beating the hell out of themselves, you know, like, and they can't see it. You know, they're trapped in that dark, shadowy place that we go to sometimes, and it does take somebody physically holding their hands out and saying, come on, come with, you know, let's get back in the light. Recover loud, you know, because there is no truer statement in our recovery world than that. We have to recover loudly. We have to show people not just that we can recover, but that we can thrive in a life of recovery. We can become people that are living up to their full potential, and we have a drive and a desire to do so, and that, you know, we are all inherently good people with lots to offer. Absolutely. You know, and that sometimes we find ourselves in dark places. And we don't become new people when we get sober. No, we find the real people we were supposed to be. We live up to who we are. Yeah. And I certainly did. Yeah. You know, my art has grown, my understanding of how to have a relationship with someone has grown. So it's not just that, like, the relationships I had got better, it's that the quality of the relationships I've discovered since are better. Yeah. You know, I'm attracting a higher quality of person, if you will. Like, not to be a judgmental guy, but, you know, like, the people that I'm surrounding myself today with are people who are driven and have vision, and they want to make the world a better place, and they're trying to leave their mark behind them, not in a self-seeking way, but in a way that is lasting and can make real change, you know? Yeah. I'm trying to work where lives are being changed, you know, and that's, for me, there's no greater gift than seeing that for somebody.
But, you know, opening up in just radical love, radical acceptance, wanting better for others, you know, is enough to help anybody.
It is.
You know, and, you know, we don't have to set the bar so high before we start to love somebody.
Yeah. It speaks to how quickly you can affect change when that platform is available. Right. You know, because I know for a fact that the episodes of this show, the outreach work that you do, the connections that you've made, you know, I mean, I know some of the same people you do, and I know how their lives have been affected by it and the good work that you've been doing here. And, you know, it's a real testament to how tenacious we can be as you know, recoveries, you know, like, that's we were always driven, just we were driving the wrong way.
Right, we need a direction.
Right, but now that, you know, we can take that same drive and apply it in a positive way in our lives, and we can make real change. I used to be somebody who thought there was absolutely no hope for me. I was never going to amount to more than where I was, which was addicted, depressed, and suffering. You know, the only eventual end I had was the end, and that was it. You know, and I didn't see any other way out, and it took a collective of people to come into my life all on their own, I certainly didn't feel like I deserved it at the time, and they had no motivation other than They'd been there, they understood it, and they didn't want to see somebody else go through it. And they were willing to spend that time with me and to answer those calls in the middle of the night and to drive to weird places that I found myself when I, was out doing crazy shit, and bring me home and say, no, you're not going to do it that way. There's another way. Let's try it this way. And that for me, without them, I would never have been able to do it. But now, today, I'm just again, like you said, I'm the person I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I can be a father to my children. I can be a friend. I can be a partner. I can be an employee. I can be an artist. I can fulfill commitments and have responsibilities and not be overwhelmed by them. We still have problems. I still have stuff that happens every day. Every day is challenging.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a negative reaction.
Absolutely.
What it's not okay to do is allow that negativity to take root in yourself and become the norm. Like everybody reacts, but it's what you do with that information afterwards. And like you said, I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, and
Still
that's the work that we continue to do today.
That's right.
Quitting substances, that seemed to be the easy part.
Yeah.
And now we have to live our life. I remind people all the time how important it is once we get into recovery. We did a lot of work to save this life for ourselves.
Yes, we did.
Holding up in the house,
Yeah.
not getting out to enjoy it. That's something that we need to do.
100%.
And that's that joy in life, that betterment that we caused for or created for ourselves.
That's right.
It's time to get out and enjoy.
We're not a glum lot, as they
No,
say.
we really
And
are.
I try to remind the guys that I work with in the program, just of that. That's one of the things that we suggest to them is, get out there in the actual recovery community.
Yeah.
There's always some kind of dance or an event or something, and maybe they do sound corny, or maybe it is a little corny, but it's okay because it's fun, first of all, and it's an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone, maybe meet some like-minded people. You never know, because I've seen in this program and in other 12-step programs, I've seen relationships form that become, intense, mind-blowing, life-changing relationships can form in some of these places. You can meet people that will change your life.
So Steve, what is it you like to do in your spare time? You said you're an artist.
I am.
What kind of artist?
I do traditional pen and ink, watercolor illustration. I do some sculpture, a little bit of gouache painting, other kinds of that kind of medium. But I love it. You can check out my stuff at Steve Gagne on Instagram. But one thing that we're working on, I say we, my partner and I, again, we're real active in the recovery community, and I know that there's a lot of artists locally, and there's a lot of artists in general in our recovery community. Art is a really effective form of catharsis for a lot of people, and so a lot of people find art and find their artistic talent when they kind of first get into their recovery. And I love that. That's one of my favorite things. And so we're putting a call out to artists that would be interested. If you'd like to highlight some of your artwork, you can reach me at Steve, Steevo Gagne, Gagne, at Instagram. And we're trying to put together a gallery show of artists in recovery. We have a lot of thoughts on that. So reach out if you're interested.
Well, Steve, I really appreciate you sharing your recovery story with us, and the great work that you're doing today. A lot of the work that we do, it's on ourselves.
It is.
And sharing it with others. That's where the benefit is seen outside of ourselves. But really, the work is within us. And I've watched you for the last couple of years anyway, and you're one of my favorites at meetings. You seem to understand yourself and your situation, and being able to share that articulately, is helping other people. So
I appreciate you. I love the work you do, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Steve.
Yeah.
And just keep up the good work, and hopefully in the future we'll do some things together.
Absolutely. Right on, man.
All right.
Thanks.
Recover loud, everyone.
Recover loud.
Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Screw the people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now.
best advice that I could give to somebody in early recovery or who's struggling in their recovery, keep going. If that means reach out, if that means pick up that phone that weighs 1,000 pounds, if that means go to a meeting that you don't usually go to, or, talk to somebody you don't normally talk to, whatever that takes,